called a mystical spring because Carolyn is preparing a mystical spring for everyone, and I'm leading it off. First, I'm going to start with 4 transmissions on the Christ consciousness. And then Mirabai Star is going to come and wonderfully unpack all the depths of St. John of the Cross's vision of the dark night and why it's so important for us now. And then Carolyn herself is going to give her new teachings, her extraordinary new teachings, which I've had the honor of talking with her many, many times about, on organic divinity related to Teresa of Avila's 7 mansions in the interior castle. This is going to be a feast of joy, a feast of inspiration, a feast of passion. What I want to do now is just to tell you a very little about what I am about to do. I'm about to really plunge into the heart of my passion for the Christ. Not for Christianity, not for the religion that's been created out of mad misinterpretations of Jesus's original message and mad deformations of them. Not the Christianity that has been so homophobic and misogynistic and hierarchical and patriarchal, but the real Christ, the real Jesus. This has been an obsession of mine for, as you know, 30, 40 years. And the book that I love the most of all that I've written is Son of Man. I wrote it just after the 2 people who exemplified the true Jesus life died. On the one hand, my great teacher, Father Bede Griffiths, and on the other hand, my father, who was the humblest and grandest of men. And I wrote it because what had happened when I met my great soul father, Father Bede Griffiths, was that he awoke in me a passion for Jesus that had always been there, but it got so disillusioned and darkened by everything that I'd met in Christianity. I saw in Bede someone living the true message of Jesus. And after G died, I plunged into a study of all the recent scholarship, into all of the great Christian mystics, and into most of all, and most thrillingly of all, not only the Gospels, which remain magnificent and amazing poems of this extraordinary new force that Jesus was bringing in, but the Gnostic Gospels, and especially the Gospel of Thomas, discovered in 1945 as one of 12 Gospels that had been lost for a very long time, almost 2 millennia, and which, when you read it and meditate on it, offers the most thrilling, radical, amazing vision of Jesus and the message that he was bringing. We are all now in a global dark night, and I think all of us recognize that the times are terrifying and dark and that everything is at stake. But when you step back and when you take a very deep breath, you also realize that something amazing is being potentially born. Amazing new movements honoring justice and compassion to all beings, to nature, to animals, are being vitalized. And as the dark displays its madness very clearly, so millions of people are becoming aware that we now need on the earth a loving army of warrior midwives prepared to put their lives on the line to birth a new world out of the ashes of the old. And all my work is dedicated to giving whoever wants it the hope, the passion, the energy, the joy, the vision that I've been given by the divine, so that they can become one of those who step up and give everything at this time to birth a new world. Nothing is more important, in my opinion, than getting back to the original message of the original Jesus. Jesus never claimed to be the unique Son of God. That was a fantasy they created. Jesus never claimed to be the only one and to be the one worthy of absolute adoration. Jesus came as a universal liberator for all of us, to show us what we could be if only we established and sustained and nourished and kept vibrant and passionate the direct, naked relationship that he had with the divine. And he showed us in this madly noble life that he lived. He showed us this in the miracles that he did. He showed us this in the extraordinary example of his constant telling of truth to power. He showed us in the way that he embraced everyone, whoever they were, at whatever stage they were, and showed them utmost compassion and dignity and respect. And the vision that Jesus came to bring was not one that was destined to found another religion. It was one that was intended to create a path that would enable anyone who took it passionately and sincerely to birth the same love and wisdom consciousness that infused him in them. This is the real Jesus revolution. And that's the revolution I shall be celebrating in 4 different transmissions. The first will concentrate on Jesus's fundamental vision of kingdom consciousness and show, oh my God, what a radical and gorgeous and all-inclusive vision that is. The second will deal with the laws of how you align right now in the middle of all of our madness with that vision to help it be born in greater and greater intensity and energy in you. And this will deal with the Beatitudes, and I will plunge into the Aramaic version of the Beatitudes. Jesus spoke Aramaic, and when you do plunge into the Aramaic, as I've done through the help of great teachers like Rocco Errico and Neil Douglas Klotz, what you see is that the laws that we've taken so austerely and narrowly are actually so much larger and more sumptuous and more heavenly in one way and more earthly and grounded and embodied in another. And it's very exciting when you really get with what really Jesus said. The third transmission will be dedicated to the consciousness that Jesus knew that we would need if we were going to really help birth a new world. A consciousness that is a marriage of the highest visionary truth and exaltation and gorgeous, unfettered, loving energy and great hope. A fusion of that, the innocence of the dove, with the wisdom of the serpent. A consciousness is utterly illusionless about the dark in the world, the dark in our institutions, the dark in us. He knew that if we just were visionaries elated by the light, we would be lambs led to slaughter. But if also he knew that if we were just darkened by cynicism and paralysis and despair at the real evil out there and in here, we would do nothing, and we would, in fact, help birth the darkness. He knew that if we brought those two together, we would become like the divine, wise and strategically intelligent, and able to endure very great difficulties with a rugged, realistic, divine human hope. And in the fourth transmission, what I'm going to do is to talk about something that is extremely close to me and extremely dear to me because of my experience of my great teacher, Father Pete Griffiths, and that is the Transfiguration tradition, the tradition that Jesus started in the secret depths of the Christian mystical tradition, a tradition of the full evolutionary transformation of heart, mind, soul, and body that could birth a new species. I believe that species is being born out of the horror of our time. I believe we're in a massive evolutionary crisis, and that if we can align with the glorious and simple and challenging and radical and hopeful truths of the real message of the great teachers, and of this perhaps the greatest of all the teachers, of all the liberators, then there is a tremendous chance that what we are experiencing as despair and paralysis and horror could turn out to be the preliminary convulsions of a great birth of a new embodied divine humanity, and with that, the birth of love and justice and compassion and deep interrelationship in every realm, in politics, in economics, in the arts, in sciences, in all of the religions, a birth that would liberate humanity to become what it has always been meant to be in the heart mind of God, a divine humanity capable of co-creating with God ever fresher variations on a glorious theme of compassion in action. So please join me to kick off a mystic spring with Carolyn Myss and see at myss.com, myss.com, a mystical spring. Just go there. One last thing. The price is amazing. It's $75. Carolyn and David, her wonderful collaborator, believe that prices should be very low so as to embrace as many people as possible. And I'm thrilled with that. So please don't let anything stop you joining me and joining Carolyn from Mystical Spring, joining me for this feast on the real Christ consciousness, on the message of the real Jesus, which I know that when you hear it and when you begin to see how gloriously empowering it is, you will want to integrate into the depths of your life and so become one of the warrior midwives now turning up, the sacred activist loving army turning up to build, create, hope for, imagine, and do everything to erect a new and amazing world out of all of this boiling, destructive madness. Thank you.